fuck that. Oops, I swore. I know. I said, fuck that. I don't want to be a poor artist. I want to break away and do a crystal heart healing on them, which was amazing. She said, did you know your friend is a psychic and does readings and healings? And I was like, no, I didn't know that. To reach out to this woman, and I reached out to her. Hey, I feel like you have something to share with me. And she said, Yoda, no more, welcome to the journey within. My name is Cyrus Henry, your host. And I thought to kick off, this next series of this podcast, just to give reference, I have already done quite a few videos just by myself. And now this is the next evolution of it. So, in honorance of, the journey within, I'm going to share a bit about my story and my journey within, and what has brought me here to this moment. Like I said in my introduction, into the introduction of this podcast there, I have been mulling, keyword, sitting on this idea of a podcast for 4 years, and I just kept on meeting limiting beliefs. I didn't have the right equipment, I didn't have the right space, I didn't have everything in order and perfect, like the introduction reel or whatever, anything, and so I was constantly making excuses. And so my first step for that journey within was just to get on camera and talk, and that was it. And I have a lot of content already on YouTube, which was just me leaning into that every day and just making content. And the next step of that was to interview people. And I was beating those limiting beliefs again, as I didn't have the right material, I didn't have the right equipment, whereas I just needed to start. And so, yeah, I've started. I already have like 4 interviews done that I need to edit and then put on, and then I've started the journey. I've gotten over that hump, and now we're just going to keep going. To journey within, my journey. So yeah, like I said, I've been, this idea of a podcast has been sitting and been seated like 4 years ago, and I love podcasts. I'm an avid podcast listener and have been for the last 10, 11 years, and I've learned a lot from podcasts such as The School of Greatness with Forrest House, Jay Shetty, Oprah, Tony Robbins, Aubrey Marcus, Tim Ferriss. Those are like the bigger ones that have really taught me a lot, and then those have led to audiobooks, recommendations of different people based upon who's been on them. And so I've learned a lot from Audible, from listening and watching. My journey within, I guess, a big part of my journey is the spiritual path, and part of my journey is I have straight out of high school, I went to go study dance, classical dance at a school called Unitech, and I was going to study a bachelor. And in my first year, I got offered a 4-year contract in a company called Black Coast Dance Company in New Zealand. This is in New Zealand, just so you know. And after 6 months, I quit and left, and then I moved to Australia and in Sydney, and then I started dancing there. Then I attended a school called Brent Street School of Performing Arts, which is dancing, singing, and acting, musical theatre and acting. And so I was walking this path of an artist's life. Even already within that is I was already following a different narrative than the 9 to 5, and walking the path of a different career path than the normal, a path not commonly travelled, especially by Māori people. Just so you know, I am New Zealand Māori. My iwi is Naiterangi Ngāti Raukawa. Naiterangi from Tauranga Moana area, from the Bay of Plenty of New Zealand, and Ngāti Raukawa from Live in Masterton, Otaki. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me. I'm also half Filipino. My father is half Filipino, whom I don't know. I don't know who my father is, and I also don't care. And a year after I finished studying at Brent Street School of Performing Arts, throughout that time I was really interested in self-development. There's a saying and a paradigm of a poor artist. Oh, you're gonna be a poor artist. When I first heard that, I was like, fuck that. Oops, I swore. I know. I said, fuck that. I don't want to be a poor artist. I want to break that story and break that narrative. And so from there, I started to open my mind on how can I leverage my time, energy, and location, effort, without it impacting my career as an artist. And so therefore, I started to explore network marketing, and those are MLM businesses. I did not succeed in network marketing, but I learned a lot about different options out there through the web, through internet, business, the business mindset, the entrepreneur mindset, and self-development. And so I didn't want to do hospitality or retail in between dance contracts or performance contracts. And so I was opening myself to the idea of what else would I like to explore and bring into my life. And the first was life coaching, and like an entrepreneur, like kind of mindset coach type of person, because that's what I was studying, or the Zig Ziglar, or the Jim Rohns, all those type of people, and Tony Robbins. But there was a part of it that was missing for me, which that part was spirituality and healing, ceremony. And I happened to come across a mentor. How I met this mentor was my first mentor, my spiritual mentor, who was a clairvoyant and healer. And how we met was one of my students who I was teaching salsa dancing to. I took her out to a social salsa club, because at a point in time I would take students to a social club so they can dance with other people. And we were there, and one of my friends there, I won't mention her name, was there and just waiting for her friends, and I introduced her to my student. I knew this person from the salsa community for a while. And at the end of the night, when I walked my student back to her car, she said, "Did you know your friend is a psychic and does readings and healings?" And I was like, "No, I didn't know that." And I was like, "Oh, interesting." And I just left that in the back of my mind. And a couple of weeks later, I felt this urge, this impulse to reach out to this woman. And I reached out to her, and I sent a message on Messenger, and I was like, "Hey, I feel like you have something to share with me." And she says, "I've been waiting for you. Your ancestors were walking around the club." And I was like, wow. And that started this journey. So I booked in a session with her. She did a reading, did a healing. And at the end of that session, she said, "Cyrus, you can do everything that I can do. And I want to offer you a donation basis for each session." At that time, I thought just the sessions didn't cost that much. And then a couple of sessions later, I found out how much they really cost. And I was like, I guess that was the self-doubt of me feeling like, why am I so special for her to say that I can do everything she does? And so I started the deep journey of healing, doing deep spiritual work and healing work, and she'll do readings and healings, and she'll give me homework, then I'd go away and do it. And I worked with her for maybe 6 to 8 months, 12 months. And I learned a lot. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about my subconscious trauma. I learned how to connect with spirit guides and animal guides. I learned how to journey. I journeyed into past lives. I had a vision of the future, and I met my future children. I had a Kundalini awakening, all because of this experience with my first mentor. And then she also kind of gave me pathways of this is what you can be. You're good with your hands. You're good with plants and herbs, and maybe you should look at naturopathy. And I remember looking up naturopathy courses, but they were so expensive. And I was like, oh, I mean a lot. And so I was like, oh, what's the next best thing? And then I found this diploma of energy healing that was part-time and allowed me to pay part-time. And I went in for the interview, and I got in. And so I studied at a college called the Awareness Institute in North Sydney, a diploma of energy healing. And what that looked like was a strong foundation of transformative meditation, which I received a Cert 4 or Cert 3. A strong foundation in soul-centered communication on how to be in dialogue with clients, and a range of different energy healing modalities, working with the chakras, the meridians, the nadis. And those are like the three main things. And then we got to explore a wide range of different modalities like flower essences, Reiki, shamanic healing, sound healing, labyrinths, crystal healing, animal communication, lots of so many things. And so I learned so much about myself, but I also learned a vast array of different things, modalities, wisdoms, teachings that exist within the world of healing. And that those 2 years alone was such a deep journey within myself, and I was learning such complex concepts within spirituality and consciousness and awareness and the energy body. And at that time, I had no idea what it meant. Consciously, intellectually, I didn't understand it, but knowing, I understood, because like I don't understand it, but it makes sense. You know, at the end of that 2-year program, I asked myself, like, how do I want to share this with the world? How do I want to share this with the world? And what came to me was through shamanism, through crystal healing, through sound healing, through indigenous wisdom, and through men's work. And fast forward to now, that's what I'm doing. So that's a little bit about my journey within, about, you know, me and the foundation that set up my life, of this vision of like living my artist life, of performing, of dancing, acting, playing music. And then in between, I was doing healing work and coaching work and ceremonial work. And yeah, and that's what happened there. And, you know, another part of my journey I want to share is like fast forward another 3-4 years later, I find myself in the States, because I went to go do a 6-month contract, a dance contract in a theater show for the inaugural cast of Virgin Voyages, which was a new concept of cruise ships. And typically in a traditional cruise ships like Royal Caribbean, is they'll have a core cast of 30, they'll do all of the entertainment within the cruise ship. But this cruise ship is they wanted to have specialists for each show. And that really appealed to me. Plus, also at the time, I was vegan, and they had a vegan restaurant on the ship. And also another perk of that was the pay rate. And then also at the end of the contract, I could fly anywhere. Whereas most traditional cruise ships, you have to fly back to your home country. Whereas this contract, they offered us to fly anywhere we want. And what was amazing with this show was about love. Specifically about different types of love, because it was about polyamory actually, and loving. Yeah, it was about different types of love. It was such a beautiful show. It was like the prince was in love with the god, and the god was in love with the princess, and the princess was in love with the prince. Oh, it was a beautiful show. Anyway, it was an immersive theater show. And what was beautiful about this immersive theater show, what immersive theater is I interact with you as I'm performing. There's no stage. Everywhere is the stage. And before we started the show, we had a 30-minute immersive pre-show. So what would happen is the audience were coming to the bar, restaurant area, and they'll get their drinks. And all of us cast of like 16 would interact with them and have little games all around the idea of love and connection. So it could be a one-on-one game, or like a 2-on-1 game, or like the whole group would do interactions with the audience whilst they're walking around, mingling with each other and getting their drinks before the show started. And in that show, my two worlds came together, because during that immersive theater show, I was able to take someone away and do a crystal heart healing on them, which was amazing. And so my two worlds came together. And so anyway, the pandemic happened, and then the show got postponed, then the 3rd month in, and I didn't have anywhere to go back to Sydney, because I moved out of my home before I went on the contract, and the place I would have gone back to in Sydney, my friend just had a child, a baby, and they didn't want anybody in the house, and so that's fair enough. And then my family in New Zealand said, don't come home, just wait it out. And I was like, okay. I was actually pretty sad. And I had a friend living in a country called Nicaragua, a friend I grew up with in New Zealand. And I was like, I'll just go there and wait it out. And waiting it out was meant to be 2 weeks, 2 months, and then eventually I ended up living there for 3 years, because I got stuck there in Nicaragua. But this is one of the deepest journeys within in my whole life. Well, I've only had a bit of like, not a whole life, my whole life, but yeah, it was one of the deepest journeys I've ever experienced to this day. During that time in Nicaragua, right, I forcibly retired as a professional artist and naturally pivoted into my role as a healer, and all the ideas that I was creating and seeding within my consciousness on how I would like to present work. And so during that time in Nicaragua was the time where I got to present a lot of work, and I connected with this beautiful woman who was from Australia, and we had a beautiful intimate relationship for a year. But she had so much networks, and opened up a lot of doors for me. Two of those doors one of those doors was plant medicine. She was working with the shaman, and invited me to my first ceremony with Mother Ayahuasca. This was in Nicaragua, and at that time I was ready for it. And so I started the journey of plant medicine, and basically for like 2.5 years was with sitting in ceremony once or twice a month with the mother ayahuasca, and also with the mushrooms like every week. And what that looks like for ceremony is we sit in circle, we pray, we share medicine music, we have the intention of healing and meeting our shadows and our light. We're in community and sharing and healing together. So I was in ceremony weekly for like 2.5 years. And in that time, I had a few ego deaths. In that time, I got to present a lot of work. In that time, I got to, present a lot of work that I was creating and seated in my consciousness. And it was a powerful time learning with plant medicine. And during that time, actually, I understood, if you remember what I said before, like at the end of my 2-year diploma, I asked myself, like, how do I want to share this work? And it said through shamanism, through crystal healing, through sound healing, through indigenous wisdom, and through men's work. And because of my time with plant medicine, I got to really understand shamanism. I got to really understand sound healing. I got to really understand the crystal and the mineral world. I got to really understand indigenous wisdom. And I started to present men's work. And throughout my time in Nicaragua, I was like, this is what this all is. And so, that 3 years of being in Nicaragua was like 6 years of training and deep work and sharing work. And, and the highlights was my time set in ceremony with the plant medicine, was my time in conscious community and being able to share my work. And the second part of that was conscious community. And I got the privilege to be part of a beautiful movement group called Momentum Collective, and that was through this beautiful woman that I had spent time with that invited me into that space because she was a CEO, one of the founders of the space, and invited me to be part of their residency because they do a conscious circus residency. And what that looks like is a whole month of circus and consciousness activities and exercises, from yoga, from aerials to dance movement to ceremony to aesthetic dance. And I came in as the movement teacher and the resident healer. And that alone was like 3 months of 3 different groups. But I had the big opportunity to share a lot of my work and a lot of my ideas into the space. And I had so much growth of how to share work, how to be in community, what it looks like being in conscious community, conscious communication, radical communication. So I've had a big journey within, and I'm still journeying within. And and so fast forward to me being now currently based in New Zealand. I've been in New Zealand for a year now. And being in the Western world, in Nicaragua, I was in the jungle and in remote places and very disconnected from the Western world. And so, my current journey within is presenting my work, still growing as a person, as a healer, as an artist, as a human being, and showing up in this space because I feel like this is an important space for me to be in the digital space. And my current journey within is showing up in this space and letting go of my limiting beliefs of not having the right equipment, not having the right people, and just doing it. My intention for this podcast, The Journey Within, is to just share stories, share people's journeys within. So that is my journey at this moment. And the journey, there's lots more, many little journeys in there that are big pivotal moments within my life. But those two big journeys of being a creative performer and then being a healer, those are my two big journeys, and this is how we are connecting in this moment on those two identities that show up and that I share. To finish off is what are some nuggets and wisdoms that I've learned over my time. What you seek is seeking you, a quote by Rumi, which is also similar to the quote of where thought goes, energy flows. And so if you have a vision, think, feel, experience that vision daily. If you're trying to go somewhere, do something better with your life, you're not gonna get there by thinking about the shitty things every day. You gotta really clear away all of that stuff, focus on your vision, tunnel vision, and just think that every day, and also the actions that are involved. So what you seek is seeking you, whatever that means to you. You spend more time alone than you do with anyone else. What that means is get comfortable with being with yourself, especially if you're on the path of spirituality, especially if you're on the path of growth, of wanting to do something with your life, because it's a lonely path. It's a lonely path. But I learned to be with myself. I learned to be comfortable with my own self, and to have fun with my own company, with me. Lastly is consistency is key. Is with your achieving your dreams, experiencing your dreams, with healing is the little things every day compound to create the big things. It really is the little shifts. And like for me, every day was journaling. Every day was setting intention for how I want to feel. Every day was the meditation, the breath work. Every day was focusing on my visions, on my future. Every day was what can I learn next? What can I learn new? Consistency is key. The last nugget is my friends are my biggest investment. My friends and my community are my top investment. Because the fastest way to get somewhere is with people. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. And so I consciously invested a lot in the quality of my friendships and the quality of the people I surround myself with. Whether we're on the same pathway of visions, it's that quality of love and support that was really nourishing for me. And there's two more. Whakapapa. Whakapapa translates to the word as a Maori word that translates to family tree or family lineage. To know where you're going is to know where you've come from first. The biggest supporter for me in my whole life, especially venturing out of my country, was knowing who I was and where I come from. And that is knowing my ancestral lineage, my tribes, my grandfather, my grandmother, where my family comes from, where my family land is, which was available to me. It may not be available to you if you're an orphan, but really establishing that energetic physical root is so nourishing for the soul. And so because I knew where I came from, I knew the mountain I belonged to, the river and the water I belonged to, it gave me a sense of groundedness in the outer worlds, in the other countries. Lastly, there was one more. I can't remember. But yeah, those are some important wisdoms that have supported me. Learning is earning. If you're not learning, you're not growing. Once you stop learning, you stop growing. So learning is earning, and so everything I do is always for the purpose of learning first. Yeah. Anyway, those are some nuggets and wisdoms for me, and a little bit about my journey within. Thank you very much. I've got some amazing guests coming up already. 4 guests that have shared some amazing wisdom and some amazing nuggets, and I'm excited to share that with you and with you and the future guests that come up. I'm unsure on how the structure is going to go. It could be like a guest and just me one week. It could be a guest and me, but it's going to be very spontaneous because if I think too much about it, then I'll get in my head and then I'll get stuck. And then, so I'm just going to do what I want each week, but consistently I'll share content and share videos within the journey within. So make sure you like, subscribe, follow, comment, share, and I look forward to sharing with you and being with you. Thank you very much. Look forward to meeting you, or something rather. Anyway, おほていえい無料だ。